Hi, it's me again, your movie friend that for the last several episodes cannot pronounce especially. When I'm editing and I hear myself say especially, I die a little inside. Anyway, it's been a while, but it hasn't really been a while if you catched the podcast exclusive episode on Five Nights at Freddy's. If you missed it, I'll link it in the description. So, I'm excited to talk about this movie, especially because I've seen so much hate for it online. I love this movie and we will absolutely get into that. I had such a good time watching this movie that I didn't even consider the hate that it would get because, I was just in my own little world. And then I landed on the wrong side of TikTok, you guys, and this dude was full on yelling. He was yelling at his phone about how much he hated this movie. Wild. Hi friends, welcome back, or just welcome if you're new here. I'm here as a friend to give you my spoiler-free thoughts on the latest movie I've watched in theaters or cozied up at home. If you're looking for my thoughts on a specific movie, DM me on Instagram, let me know on YouTube, or let me know on the podcast. Tune in for new episodes every Friday, and don't forget to follow the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, all the things so you don't miss out on what I'm watching and what we're going to be talking about. As you can tell by the title of the episode, we are finally talking about the most recent feature film installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the most recent installment in Phase 5. We're talking about the Marvels. Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, has reclaimed her identity from the tyrannical Kree and taken revenge on the Supreme Intelligence. However, unintended consequences see her shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe when her duties send her to an anomalous wormhole linked to a Kree revolutionary. Her powers become entangled with two other superheroes to form the Marvels. I'm gonna say it with my chest and I will repeat myself throughout this episode. This movie does not deserve the hate it's getting. You can at me in the comments and I might respond, who knows, because I'm not wrong. And honestly, neither are you if you hate this movie. We're both right, and we can keep things moving. This movie is fantastic. If you've been around for the last several episodes leading up to this one, then you'll know I was looking forward to seeing these three women on screen together, these three characters on screen together. I was eager to see more from Monica and Kamala, just to have more time with these characters. Also, to explore the relationships between Carol and Monica, especially given their history, as well as Kamala's relationship with Carol, given that Carol is her idol and she's just so starstruck by her. Additionally, I was eager to see Kamala's jump from TV to the big screen. Check, 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 check. This movie was checking all the boxes. I'm gonna try to keep my thoughts organized because a lot of elements I like about this movie have that flip side that people are wildly hating on. I really like the story. I like the bigger picture as well. Now, we're also starting to get more, let's just say, we're getting more to get excited about. I love me a fun movie and this one absolutely delivered. And I really like the acting and the chemistry. So, you have the story with the villain Dar-Ben and her whole situation. Okay, that's fine, I get it. Plainly put, Girlie was going through it and she's feeling some type of way. Valid. I'm not gonna lie, that was going on and I was there for it, but I wasn't captivated by that story or focused on it that much. Take a step back, and the story that resonated with me though is the development of Carol Danvers. The attention-commanding story of Carol and Monica reuniting, and the charismatic story of Kamala meeting her hero, Carol. That's the story I really enjoyed about this movie. The character development of Carol is front and center, and so much of this movie informs that. I think this movie did a lot for her character, especially in terms of vulnerability, which I really love when characters get those moments and the actors get those opportunities. Speaking of those moments, the moments she had with Monica, I knew, but I didn't. I knew, but I didn't. I'm gonna put a spoiler countdown on screen. Embrace yourself because I'm gonna go on a rant. So if you have not seen WandaVision, first of all, definitely watch that movie, or at least know what happens in that show. I will say though, if you haven't seen it, it's absolutely worth it. Okay, so I was shook When we saw what happened to Monica during the snap and when she came back with her mom, you guys, I was in tears. We all know I cry a lot, but not only was it extremely emotional, but with life experience and all that, it was so much. When it came to the Marvels, I was expecting all of that to be addressed, but to see the way it was handled and the way it was acted out, the best way I can describe it is a moment when you think you're okay and you realize you're not. I knew it was going to be good, but I wasn't ready for what we got. This movie is fun. I laughed so much when we went to see this movie in theaters. I think when I went to the theater, it was probably 80% sold through, and that was when I checked the seats earlier in the week. Maybe it filled up a little bit more by Friday. And before you start thinking, I'm checking seats to boast about how sold out my theater was, no. I was checking the seats to see if the one next to me was empty so I had somewhere to put my purse. Moving along, my point is it was a full theater and people were laughing at several points in the movie. I will admit, the movie had some more out there moments, but it was within the realm of possibility in the MCU, so I wasn't taken out of the movie personally. The situational humor was there, and a lot of the comedy for me came from Kamala and her family, which really just warmed my heart to see her and that family dynamic interact with other characters and scenarios. Finally, the acting and the chemistry. We're going to talk about Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. I love her in Ms. Marvel, and I love her in this movie. She stole every single scene she was in. No, she stole the movie. I linked a TikTok from Kit Laser in the description, and he said that Iman Vellani carries. She's charismatic and funny. I agree 100%. Kamala Khan has my heart, and I absolutely love her in this movie. Not only because she's a fanfic girly and the girls that get it, but she's funny and she's the heart. And I am a sucker for those types of characters in any movie or franchise. Again, she's charismatic and she's funny. I love her journey in this movie, and I love that her story is just getting bigger and bigger from where she got her start, all the while her family is there for her. Let's rant about Monica now, because I love Teyonah Parris as Monica Rambeau is such a fantastic character. Again, we get to see that vulnerability from the character, and Teyonah has an opportunity to really shine. Monica's history really informs her interactions with Carol and how she navigates her life, or at least her life in the context of the movie. My imagination is running away with me, but I love Monica's interactions with Kamala, and Kamala's character really gives Monica and Carol a chance to grow. I'm gonna start to get into my feelings, so let's rant about Carol Danvers. Brie Larson as Carol. Captain Marvel, I loved in 2019 when I watched in a less than crowded theater, and I still love. I don't know what's with all the hate, and maybe I'll do some scholarly Googling later, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I love Brie Larson as Carol Danvers, and I love her in this movie. Brie Larson had an opportunity. Everyone had opportunity here to bring out that emotion and vulnerability. I don't mean to repeat myself, but like I've said in the past, I really love those acting moments, especially in the context of what I feel is a good story or what I feel is well acted, so I tend to focus on that when we do get it. But anyway, she nailed it. I love the element of her being a flawed character and how others react to that, especially Kamala. And I'm gonna start ranting, but to finish off this section, I do want to say that all three of these actresses have incredible chemistry. I love the relationship between Carol and Monica, and I love where it went. I love the relationship between Kamala and Carol, Kamala's relationship with Monica, honestly, Kamala's relationship with the MCU, because she was really outside of it in Ms. Marvel, and now she's put into a much bigger world, so it was exciting to see her navigate that. At the risk of ranting again, I think we all know what I think about the movie, but stick with me. Let's just put it all out there. I love this movie. I wish I could watch it right now. It's so much fun. It's funny. I love the acting. I love Kamala. She really is such a fun character. Kamala and Iman are both bringing an incredible sense of joy and enthusiasm to the movie, and honestly, you guys, to the MCU. Now, remember when I was saying a lot of what I like about the movie has that flip side, and that's where all the haters live? Okay, let's get into it. I would say that from what I've seen online, people are right. Iman Vellani is the best part of this movie. I will say, however, that the movie is not dragging its feet. But by now you already know that I like the movie. Let's talk about Miss Dar-Benn, Zawe Ashton. Before I continue, what I took away from the movie was that it's not about her. It's really about how she moves Carol Danvers' character through the movie. That said, I didn't mind her. I actually kind of like the character. The motivation is there. Was she underdeveloped? Probably. Was she dramatic? Probably not, but she was doing the most. The point is, she was there for Carol's character. She was there to strengthen that bond between the Marvels. She nailed it. I will say, I think Zawe did a good job with what she had. The CGI. Oof. Okay, well, to be transparent, I expect inconsistent, so-so CGI from the MCU, so this movie delivered on that. The CGI wasn't immaculate, and like I said in the Five Nights at Freddy's podcast episode, it rarely is, but we do get moments of incredible CGI. This movie had some of those moments where the CGI did look really, really good, but it had plenty of moments where it didn't. I like the story, but I have seen negative reviews saying that it's convoluted and messy. I think if you take a step back, it's super easy to follow, and I didn't find it to be too much personally. I do think media nowadays, though, really tends to have multiple storylines, but I can absolutely see how it could maybe be overwhelming. I really like the acting, but I did see negative reviews saying that Iman Vellani was the only one that stood out. I think, well, okay, I agree because, like I said, I like a funny character. That is the heart. So I think she stood out the most because that's the type of character that I connect with, and that is my favorite type of character. But Monica and Carol stood out in their own way too. I saw negative reviews saying Monica was wasted and her powers weren't explained. I disagree. And I can't speak on this point because I don't think I can rant too much about Monica here without spoiling the movie, so we're just gonna move on. The amount of negative reviews talking about forced diversity and women, just existing and being women is wild to me. Okay, so a lot of negative reviews, the ones that bring up the CGI, the story, the acting, and those points, those are totally fine. It's their opinion. They're right, and so am I. But forced diversity and women as the primary commentary on a fictional story, that's a whole bigger issue. And honestly, these two things being an issue to anyone is wild to me, and I can't wrap my head around it. So we're gonna move on. Wrapping it all up with a bow, what I'm trying to say is, skip this one if anything I've mentioned from the negative reviews I've seen online just isn't for you. If you're done with the MCU, which is totally valid, and or you aren't interested in the MCU, you don't think it's gonna be good, or you just don't wanna see this movie. But if you're going to watch the movie, if you haven't already, because I know this episode is late, as usual, when talking about the MCU, you can't just jump in, and it's a lot to take on if you're new to the franchise. I'm gonna keep this list short. Here's what you need to watch before you fly higher, further, faster with the Marvels. Captain Marvel, of course, WandaVision, and Miss Marvel. Now that we've passed the Infinity Saga, watching or at least knowing the events of Infinity War and Endgame is a must because it's a huge moment in the MCU and it impacts all these characters and all of their stories. Starting with Captain Marvel, this one's going to introduce you to Captain Marvel herself, Carol Danvers. You'll get her history and relationship with Nick Fury. Additionally, you'll be introduced to Maria and Monica Rambeau, the Skrulls, and more. WandaVision is just a really good show, but you'll get more Monica and more of her story. You'll also see how she gets her powers. Finally, Miss Marvel, another really good show. This one is a lot of fun. This is where you'll get introduced to Kamala Khan, you'll get her story, you'll get a lot of that amazing and funny family dynamic. If you are completely unfamiliar with the MCU, then I would say this one is more accessible than some of the movies that we've talked about before. It's just one movie and the TV shows are short, but as always, breaking it down into small portions is key. These are the picks for what to watch before you watch the Marvels. As always, no matter where you are in your MCU journey, we are all in this together. Have you seen the Marvels yet? If you saw the movie, what did you guys think about it? Something that I did not mention at all for whatever reason in this episode is the fight choreography. I really enjoyed not only the scenes when they were fighting, but I especially love the scenes when they were switching. It really kept you on your toes, and not only was it just visually exciting, but it really showed you the development of their relationships and their dynamic. I'm just gonna keep talking about how much I like this movie. Like I said in the last episode, I watched The Marvels after watching the Loki season 2 finale, and that show was just a reminder of how good the MCU can still be, and this movie delivered that same feeling for me. Was it a masterpiece? No, but it was refreshing, and I felt that it was so easy to get invested in these characters and their stories. It makes me excited for the future of the MCU, even though the MCU is all over the place right now, but that's a whole other issue. All right, Marvel fans, that brings us to the end of the episode. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you. Thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the description below for a link to the podcast. Leave this episode a thumbs up if you like, so I know you liked the episode. And let me know, who is your favorite character between the Marvels? If it's not obvious by now, my favorite character is Kamala, but let's be real, there is no wrong answer. Monica, amazing. Carol, fantastic. Let me know your favorite between the three down below. I say it every episode and I absolutely mean it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It really does mean a lot. Thank you for catching today's episode. You can listen to new episodes every Friday, and make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, check out my Instagram, you guys, all the things so you don't miss out on the next movie that we're going to be talking about. I did have to edit this section since I'm posting this episode late, so by now I've already seen the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and you guys, in my first draft before this edit, I wrote that, quote, I wasn't super enthusiastic about Rachel Zegler, and I was sure that if anything, the movie would make me want to rewatch The Hunger Games, but I saw a clip from an interview and people commented that Rachel got a PR coach. I don't know what she did, but it was a good clip and she seemed excited about the movie, so I'm eager to see how it goes. End quote. I also said that I didn't think her acting was that great, and oh boy was I wrong. But in my own defense, I don't think Shazam! Fury of the Gods was a fair example of what she could do. And before you ask, no, I did not see 2021's West Side Story, but maybe I should. You let me know down below if I should. Keeping in line with having to edit this section, my honey and I decided to watch Thanksgiving and I forced him to come with me. That movie was a lot of fun and I think more people should check it out, but we'll talk about that next week along with our podcast exclusive on Totally Killer. So I hope you'll join me here on YouTube and the podcast, especially for those exclusive episodes. I would love to hear from you guys, so please let me know your thoughts on today's episode or just your thoughts on the movie that we talked about today in the comment section on YouTube or on Spotify. I want to know what you think, so let me know wherever you are listening or on Instagram at a.rocket.review, and I'll talk to you guys next week. But until the next episode, spread positivity, be safe, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.